Góðan daginn og velkomin öll sumul. Hello and welcome everyone, both here in Harpa in Reykjavík and online. We have guests attending virtually from all over the world today. Last time I counted, we had people attending from over 20 countries. And on behalf of digital tourism in the Nordics, a collaboration between the Icelandic Tourist Board, Visit Finland, Visit Faroe Islands, and Visit Greenland, I offer an extended, heartfelt welcome to all of you. I also welcome today's speakers. We will listen to Olivia Friðþjófsdóttir from Visit Faroe Islands, Jannicke Hansen from Norway, Bárður Örn Gunnarsson from Iceland, and Kia Dalhus from Denmark. Last but not least, we have Ásta Kristín Sigurjónsdóttir, who will moderate our panel today. I know they have all prepared insightful and inspiring presentations, so remember to stay tuned, and those of you who are online, stay tuned throughout the break as well. Today's topics: content creation, collaboration with content creators, and how all of this affects SEO, is not a new topic. Yet it's maybe more relevant than it ever has been. COVID-19 is kind of a reset button on tourism, and everyone is now new to the game called post-COVID tourism, and we're all trying to figure out the best ways to attract visitors to our destinations, to our companies, to our businesses. It's been almost 10 years since marketers started pointing out that content is king. It was a very, let's say, overused phrase for many years. Yet tourism companies, especially small and medium-sized companies, struggle with this on a daily basis. We hope that today's presentations and discussions will give you both tools and also inspiration to maximize the outcome of your efforts, and to give you an increased understanding how all of this content creation, working with influencers and external content creators, plays into your position and your SEO for your companies. But before we invite our first speaker on stage, I'd like to encourage everyone who's watching online to please send your questions for the panel while you're watching. You can do that through the Facebook event page. And people here in the room, please let us know during the break if you have any questions for the panel as well. Before I invite the first speaker on stage, I'd like to invite you to dream with me for a little bit. I'd like to ask you to let your mind wander for a little bit. If you prefer to, you can absolutely close your eyes. But I'd like you to think about a dream destination that you've never visited before. Maybe it's a bounty beach on a hidden island. Maybe it's a faraway fjord surrounded by majestic mountains. And maybe it's a city that never sleeps. I'm pretty sure that when you let your mind wander like this, that you might be able to see it very vividly before your eyes. If you quiet your mind, you might actually be able to hear the destination and what it sounds like. And if you really concentrate, you might actually be able to smell it as well. Think about that destination for a moment, and then I'll tell you what mine is. My dream destination that I have never visited is Matera in Italy. It's a small town of around 60,000 inhabitants, and it's located in southern Italy. I have never been there. I have never seen a travel brochure with a description of it, and I have never ever read about it in a guidebook. I could read you a description of Matera that goes like this. Matera is a city in the region of Basilicata in southern Italy. As the capital of the province of Matera, its original settlement lies in two canyons carved by the Gravina River. The area of the Sassi di Matera is a complex of cave dwellings carved into the ancient river canyon. Over the course of its history, Matera has been occupied by Greeks, Romans, Longobards, Byzantines, Saracens, Swabians, Angevins, Aragonese, and Bourbons. This may sound interesting to some, but I must admit that this is not something that would have made me think of Matera as my dream destination. It certainly doesn't spark any passion or any desire in me to go and visit that place. So how do I know about Matera in Italy? And why do I almost feel that I've already seen those crooked stone paths? Why does it feel like I've already sat during golden hour and drank grappa in Matera at sunset? And why do I feel so passionately that I really, really have to go there? It's because of content on social media and on blogs. That's the whole truth of the story. I've seen it countless times on Instagram. I have read numerous blog posts about it that have come up in my stream from people that I follow around the world. And I have seen enough on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, to actually recognize a place when I see it in movies. The newest James Bond, for example. Take a shot on a random street, and I could point out, hey, that's Matera, Italy, but I've never been there. So I want you to take a moment and to think about what images come to mind or came to mind when you thought about your dream destination just a few minutes ago. And where do those images come from? Are they a dictionary description? Or were they very, very vivid? Photographs, videos, things that made your imagination come alive. If you are here because you're managing a destination or you're managing a tourism company or its content, I would also like you to think about your own content. Is your content what other people's dreams are made of? I welcome you once again. I hope you will enjoy the next couple of hours. I'm sure they will be inspiring. Thank you very much. I will invite Olivia Fritjofsdóttir from Visit Faroe Islands on stage. She will talk about their work, very inspiring work with content creators. And I think the rest is up to you, Olivia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Inga. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely already feel very inspired. Today I'm going to start off with perhaps one of the biggest cliches that we're going to hear this century in these times of Corona. Because yes, it seems that we are still in these times where face masks and regulations and quarantines are a very real thing. So in these times of Corona, we are at the point where content has never been as important. My name is Olivia Dögg Frufensdóttir, and I have a background in anthropology and experience economy. And for the past 2 years, I've been working as a social media assistant at Visit Faroe Islands. So, today I will let you in on how Visit Faroe Islands has created the leading part of our content through collaborations with content creators. I will describe the process of this work and give you a small tour of the digital collaboration system that we have built. I will talk about how we have worked to diversify our content. And to sum up, I will give you some advice that hopefully can help you create valuable content through collaborations of your own. So, here we are, 53,000 people in the middle of the North Atlantic, 18 islands. Those of you who are interested in digital marketing, they might know the Faroe Islands from some of our campaigns. Being a small organization with limited resources is constantly forcing us to be creative and to ensure a global reach through effective PR strategies and our social media channels. I did a quick count, and we have done around 310 collaborations since 2017. We started working with content creators, and yes, let me just clarify that by content creators, I mean influencers, bloggers, photographers. Yeah, you get the picture. So these collaborations have resulted in an extensive image bank, and the materials have been used on our digital platforms and our social media channels. Today, we have just about 500,000 followers on our social media, Instagram and Facebook, which are our biggest channels. And I think we can quite easily say that these numbers, they are a result of the systematic work where collaborations have been at the core. So, how have we done this? Well, I would say that these collaborations, they are made possible because we cooperate locally. We have strong connections with our industry, from the hotels to the car rentals and the tour operators. And without their participation, we couldn't have done half of the work. So, a collaboration system. Before COVID-19, we had around 350 requests to collaborate per year. And we are only about 1.5 person working with the digital area. So, keeping track of all of this, it just requires a lot of work and a lot of planning. So we simply needed to work effectively. So, creating a system like that is quite a messy process. What you see here is our digital marketing manager, Baldur Eklund, who couldn't be here today because of Corona, as we all know. Keeps on being a thing. But yeah, he has sort of been the brain in developing our work with collaborators from the beginning. And it was also him who came up with the idea for the system. So he contacted a local IT company, and the first version of the system was ready a year ago. But I must just say right away that this is an ongoing process, and that the system by no means is perfect, and we are still working on it. But if we are to collaborate on the scales that we have done, it is important to work systematically. So, to give you an overview, this sort of diagram shows all of the steps in the process that we go through in our work. So it will be from the initial contact to the collaboration evaluation in the end. And I will give you a small tour of the system to see how it works. So when collaborators contact us, we ask them to sign up on our webpage. So here they can send a request with personal information, their social media channels, they send in files with a proposal, and also which months they are able to collaborate. And all of these practical details, they are incredibly important when you come to the actual planning process. Otherwise, you can end up emailing back and forth like 15 times just to get the basics. So, once they fill out, they end up here. So this is an overview of the back-end system that we use. As you can see, here we have the social media channels. Here we have all the dates, and I'll get a little bit more into all this in just a bit. So we will go through all the requests just about 1 to 2 times a month, at least we try to. And once we have decided to start a collaboration, they will get a smiley. So it will turn green, so we know, okay, this is something that we're working on. Yes, this is what the request looks like in the back end. once we've decided, okay, we're going to move forward with this, we reach out and have a discussion with the content creators about what kind of content, what kind of themes, what kind of experiences we have. We used to do a lot of this by email, but we're coming to see that having a face-to-face talk seems to be working a lot more effectively. So now we try to schedule in online meetings as often as possible. So once this is done, a contract is put out. It's sent out through the system, so it basically has a lot of the stuff. Yeah. To sum up, it has our offer, like usage and copyrights, content amounts, the thing I mentioned. We love to keep things personal, but we also recognize that it's better for our collaborators and for ourselves to have a contract which states the rights and the deliveries of both parties. And then, of course, we move on to the bookings. As you can see, that's also incorporated in the system. Once I put a sort of tick there, it will become green, and that means that, okay, now this has been booked. And here you can see that the contracts have been sent out and that they have been signed. When it comes to the actual visit, we try to give our collaborators some spare time. And yeah, so they will have time to do stuff on their own. And yeah, in the end, also we have some things that we would like them to do. We can also evaluate the collaboration here, so we can give them some stuff. Yeah, we send out an itinerary with all the important information. We try to have everything regarding the hiking and safety and drone regulations. So to sum up, the system, it saves everything in one place, and that's very important. So we have an internal database, so we can build upon our collaborations. So I'm a little bit short on time, am I? Maybe. Yeah, all right. I'll try to cover just the most important stuff. So, yeah, although the number of collaborations has been decreasing since the crisis, we are still faced with the question about how do we choose the right ones. So our main goal has from the beginning been to produce high quality content. So high numbers of followers and likes have never been at the core of our evaluations. In the beginning of our collaborator journey, the Faroe Islands was still a quite unknown destination. And we collaborated on creating images that would sort of get us on the map. And today, maybe perhaps some of you are familiar with these places. And Inga mentioned James Bond. I don't know if any of you have seen the newest movie, but slightly distorted version, we had one of our iconic places called Kalsoy was featured in the ending scene, quite dramatic. So that sort of shows that we've made ourselves known. You could say that these unique selling points have been there for centuries, but of course social media has accelerated the quest to visit them. So that's why we always try to be very clear with our collaborators that we have a lot of images from these places, and we try to get them to go somewhere else. But this is where it becomes a bit tricky. Because, yes, if we are to change where we are going to send our collaborators, we need to be the hosts. We need to put on that role and say, okay, we don't actually prefer you to go there, but have a look at some of the other stuff that we have. So this is where we started to incorporate our preserve, evolve solution, Preservolution, which is our sustainability strategy. It's around these 4 cornerstones. You can find it on our webpage if you would like to go deeper into it. So, as a spin-off from the strategy, we have worked with local, with regional DMOs to do an alternative map of the Faroe Islands. We did this very low-key and practical, where we gathered all the DMOs and said, okay, we have some red spots where we have a lot of coverage, and then we talked about, okay, what do you guys want to show? Where should we put our collaborators for the next time? So, yeah, and maybe you could think that if we only put new places in, then in a few years we will have a couple of places where we again end up with the same problems. And that's why we also focused a lot on events and tours and experiences. So that index has sort of helped us form many of our collaborations. For example, before COVID, and obviously this process has been affected by COVID, but yeah, we did collaboration about a Winter Lights festival, which showed no nature at all, which is quite new for us, because we usually have a lot of green mountains in our content. And yes, they also did this Italian guys, they also did a movie about gastronomy. So, of course, this has all been in close collaboration with DMOs and local tour operators. Yes. So, the content we produce and the speed of posting on social media is, of course, ever increasing. And the images that our followers see before they arrive, it frames their so-called tourist gaze. It defines where they will go, and in the end also how they will spend their money. And with 1 billion users, Instagram is a really, really strong platform. And I think you could say the fact that the UNWTO this year has partnered up with Instagram to drive the restart of tourism, it just proves how influential it has become. I really like this quote. With the innovative tools and the unrivaled reach of Instagram, we can bring UNWTO's vision for tourism as a force for good to new audiences all around the world. So I think that seeing Instagram and other social media platforms as a part of the solution rather than the problem, it paves the way for a more sustainable and even regenerative tourism. And all of us who are working within tourism, if we are a tour operator, an airline, a local DMO, and of course the official travel boards, we do play an important role in framing all the content that's out there. But in order to do so, we need to get some basics straight. So, to sum up, if we're going to produce the content through collaborations, we need to be smart. We need to work systematically. We need to secure our content and our user rights. And this is not a one-man show. This is something we all at the destination need to do. We need to cooperate locally on creating this content. We also need to choose the people we cooperate with care, and maybe forget about really having a zillion likes, if that's the thing that we're going for. It can be good, but perhaps not always. And then we need to communicate our expectations clearly, and I didn't get as much into that, but also building on previous collaborations is also really, really valuable. And last but not least, to anchor the content production locally, I would say that is the most important thing if the content is to create value for the destination. So thank you all for listening. And of course, if you would like to collaborate, you could try and reach out. Maybe we could collaborate in the future. Yeah. Thank you.
And a big thank you to you, Olivia. I think we can all agree on that this was extremely interesting to hear and nice to see how systematic such work can be done. I also know that we have a few content creators in the room with us today and quite a lot more with us online who have worked with the Faroe Islands before. I'm sure all of you are wondering whether you are the green happy smiley or the red not so happy smiley. There's only one way to find it out. That's to apply again to work with the Faroe Islands. So go ahead. Next up is Jannicke Hansen from Norway. I'm very happy to bid her a warm welcome as well. She will come and talk about best practices in collaboration with content creators. She has extensive experience as a content creator herself and on the other side of the table, and has worked with both destinations and tourism companies all over. So Jannicke, welcome.
Thank you very much, Inga. And thank you for the perfect presentation on how to work with influencers and content creators with the Faroe Islands. It looks like a perfect system to get everything up in a systematic way and to know that you have an overview of everything that you do. So a little bit of what I'm going to talk about is going to overlap with that, but that's the way that we know that we are working in the same way. I'm going to look a little bit from the content creator's side of things. And the first thing is, why should you work with content creators? We have had some insight of how and why. And one thing that has not been mentioned so much is that they reach a different audience than you do with your own channels. So if Visit Faroe Islands has 500,000 followers, there are still content creators that are reaching without those 500,000, and they are penetrating a different market. So that's one good reason to find a way to work with content creators. The other thing is that they are trusted. So they are trusted within their own followers and community of that they give good advice, they give good inspiration. They tell practical things, and they tell also about the most beautiful places and the most Instagrammable places, which I'm not very happy about, as also Faroe Islands said that we need to kind of diversify where people are going in each destination, and that's the perfect way to use content creators. A content creator will also tell the story of your brand or your destination, but from a visitor's point of view, which is very important also, as Inga said, that you can have a description of a town or a city or a hotel, but the description is more vivid and it affects more emotional places if it's created from a visitor. Another thing is that most of the content creators are great photographers, great videographers, great storytellers, and great to write articles and to tell the story about you. So there's also lots of ways to collaborate without also just having them to write about you or post about you. We will hear so much more about this after, but the SEO, the search engine optimization that they have knowledge about, is also very important for you as a brand or a destination. There will be some more details about SEO afterwards, but quality content attracts visitors to your place. But if you also have a collaboration where they link the quality articles towards your webpage, it would also help you build authority in the internet sphere. So it's a good thing to have a strategy also with the inbound links, and not just internal linking, which you will learn a little bit more about later. I said that content creators were trusted. I'm sorry for all of you that don't understand Norwegian, but I'm going to tell a little bit about these kind of things, because yes, content creators are trusted within their community, but they are not always trusted within other areas of expertise. Just a small example is that we were building a small summer hut out at our cabin, and I wanted to have this kind of a painting that it looks old. And I searched online and I found one of those, which is like you can use it on every surface, wooden surface, and it would look quite old, quite easy. And I went to the store and I asked about this, and then the guy at the store, he said that, these bloggers, they don't know anything. Like, you would just ruin the wood if you use them. But it has become popular because some bloggers within lifestyle or house, like how to decorate your house, has been using this a lot. But from a professional perspective, it's not very, like, you don't really trust them. I'm not going to go into these other, but it's also like breaking the rules of having a Corona party, and a lot of them are huge influencers, and it's not quite, the trust isn't really being built there. So you should also have a heads up that they are trusted, but not always. And then I will say something about, like, I know that there's a lot of great influencers which has only one platform, like only Instagram or only TikTok or only Snapchat or YouTube. But the benefits of working with multi-platform creators is very much stronger than just the one platform. They create content curated for each platform. So they will post on Instagram the content that goes on Instagram. They will post on Facebook the content that fits on Facebook. They will write articles or create videos that goes on other platforms. And the main benefit is that you will have a spread of the content that is created. So it's not just the 5 images that goes up on Instagram if you have an Instagram collaboration in very short time, but you have the Instagram coming with stories while the content creator is visiting your place. And then you will have articles that comes with good SEO, so it can be found for 10 years, 15 years ahead. So it's also thinking about the multi-platform creators as a source of not just instant inspiration, but also for like a long-term collaboration. And then we have like ways of working with content creators. We have some, I'm not sure how Faroe Islands do it, but there are some collaborations that are purely barter deals. So you give a free stay or a free meal towards coverage. That's one way of working with influencers or content creators. You can have paid collaborations. That means that you have a contract and it tells you like what should they write, how many posts, how many videos, what type of content is, what kind of focus it is. You can also look at ambassadorships, which is more a long-term collaborations with content creators. Let's say you want your hotel to have content about winter, spring, summer, autumn, festivals, or anything special that happens. If you have an ongoing collaboration with content creators, you can have like an ambassadorship, so they will kind of be your face to the world with that kind of content. And of course, you can attend campaigns. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about campaigns after. So the basic thing is be part of something bigger, and then the text has disappeared. But be part of something bigger is also a way of collaborating with content creators. You can say that you can collaborate with your destination marketing company. Like if you're a restaurant, a hotel owner, activity provider. So go to your local destination marketing company and request that you want to work with travel influencers and if they can assist you in doing this. You can also go to other smaller businesses in your neighborhood and say that we should collaborate in bringing a content creator to tell the story about our little community. So you can kind of pitch in with the others, because it's sometimes very hard if you're just a restaurant to have a collaboration over a few days, because they have to do other things than just eat in your restaurant. So having a hotel that they can sleep, having some activities that they can do, which is related, like you will all tell the same story about your place. So having collaborations like that is perfect. You can also have be part of a bigger collaboration. Last summer, just as Norway opened up after COVID, I did a road trip in Norway for 5 weeks. I was driving throughout Norway, and I collaborated with around 100 smaller and bigger companies and DMOs along the way to kind of highlight the experiences you could have in Norway. And that was also a way to highlight the more unknown places and to highlight not just Trolltunga, which I'm sure everybody has seen, or the fjords, or the midnight sun in the north. So highlight different types of places, and that made it also to fit for so many more companies, smaller companies, so they could join a part of and be a part of the campaign. So you can also kind of jump onto bigger projects and be a part of something bigger. Benefits there is that your content will also be shared, hopefully, by the other partners within the collaboration. So you will have a win-win situation with the postings that goes up. You can also use a collective to speed up the process. I'm running a collective together with a business partner in Sweden called Nordic TB. And we create campaigns for destinations and brands throughout the world, actually. But that is tailored to reach the Nordic market. And with COVID now, and we see that there's a lot more domestic or very local travel, I think some of the Nordic companies could also benefit from working with Nordic bloggers and influencers. One way to also get started is to accept good proposals from creators. It's not everybody that fits your brand, of course. And it's not every pitch that you get from creators that are really that good. I'm going to show you just one example which went viral a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago maybe. That was a Michelin star restaurant got a pitch from some bloggers. They were stating that we will be in Kilkenny specifically on 10th of October. In exchange for a vegan meal for 2, we would really like to try several items on the menu. We would be happy to provide significant online exposure on both our blogs and social media accounts. This was not very well taken by the restaurant, and he posted this, the start of another week in paradise, and rolling his eyes. And it became a huge thing, like it was retweeted, it was written about, and it's not a specifically bad pitch, but I don't think they've quite read the customer, the champagne restaurant, because they hardly serve vegan food. And it's a very expensive restaurant, even though you want a vegan guide to Ireland and you're kind of backpacking around, it doesn't necessarily fit with a Michelin star restaurant. But I would say also as a company, this is not the way you should meet, even though it's a bad pitch. Like, act professional, because we are all running businesses. Even the smallest content creator is also running their own business and trying to get by. So be professional. I put post-COVID. It's not quite true, because to get into Iceland, I needed a negative test, and I needed my vaccination. And yes, so we are still in COVID, but soon to be post-COVID, fingers crossed. But the travel trends within COVID and probably also post-COVID, when we have had these kind of stay home, save lives, kind of posters everywhere, especially in the beginning, it made people afraid or a little bit reserved when it came to travel. So the new trends, some of the new trends, not all of the new trends, but some of the new trends is there's a higher focus on domestic travel. There's also a higher focus on slow travel and responsible, sustainable travel focus. So if you look at those two things, then it would be super wise to work with local content creators. So don't bring in American content creators or invite somebody from Asia to create content, even though it could be a good fit before COVID. But if we see during COVID and now after COVID, domestic travel and slow travel, responsible, sustainable travel is more, it's higher in people's mind when they choose where to go. So looking at those kind of things should make you more encouraged to use local or domestic content creators. We also have outdoors and nature and road trips and biking and train rides. And I'm sure all of you have had the same experience during COVID, that it's the simple things. We want to sleep in tree huts. I know I don't think there's a single forest without a tree hut left in Norway, because it's popping up everywhere. I'm not sure about Faroe Islands. You don't really have forest. So there's not so many tree huts there. But also sleeping in places that are super remote, very simple, and like going back to nature is some of the trends. Also a huge focus on planning. So people will, instead of travel, because you can't travel, but we will spend a lot of time planning your travel. And to plan your travel and to plan where to go, what to experience, you would need content. So having content ready for travelers that are planning their summer holiday with inspirational photos, inspirational articles, inspirational videos will also make you able to attract new customers within your own country or within Europe or within the world. But the focus on planning kind of goes towards my next advice, and that is also that people are more spontaneous. So sometimes you can plan and plan and plan, and COVID has taught us that you can plan, COVID laughs, and you can just ditch your plans in an hour or two. So also the spontaneous bookings and the spontaneous travels is something that you need to be prepared of. And using content creators that reach out to the domestic market in a situation where international travel is not recommended or allowed can also be a good way to drive bookings to your site. But you have to make the collaboration then about we want bookings to our site. Also, the bucket list is back on track because now we have not traveled that much for a couple of years and we don't know how the world will look. So if there is an opening, you want to do that one thing that you've always dreamt of doing. And so you plan for that. So that is also like if you can stay top of mind, that we can offer you your dream experience, and people would love to see good content about not just facts, but just like talk to the emotions. Use storytelling as a way to communicate. So how to start? Of course, you can do as Faroe Islands. You can have a form on your website, and you can ask bloggers to sign up. And either way you do it, like the most important to think about is to choose the right influencers or the right creators. If you don't find the right creators, there is no return of investment. I can guarantee you that you will have nothing left for working with the wrong influencers. So first, search the internet, like who is out there, who is a content creator, who is telling stories that are similar to yours, or who is a creator within your niche or your area. And then the most important thing is to vet the creators after that. Do you like their tone of voice? Like how they present previous collaborations? Do you like how they behave when they're there? Do you find out, like, is their number correct? There's a lot of ways of tricking with numbers on social media. You can buy followers, you can buy comments, you can buy likes. So it's really hard to find out what is legitimate or not. So you should do something like dig into the numbers. Create invitation that is proper. Like, this is what we want. This is how we are looking at the collaboration. And also, if you get proposals, reply to them in a professional manner, not put them on Twitter. Or you can work with a collective. As I said, Nordic TB is also, we are vetting the bloggers. We are the only contact point if you want to work with a group or a group of bloggers. So we can do that kind of process, finding out the perfect blogger for you, or finding a group of bloggers that will fit your goals. I think the most important thing also when it comes to your strategy, your marketing strategy, if you want to work with content creators, let it be a part of your marketing strategy, not just as something on the paper, but also in your budget. So you have to put aside money to be able to work with content creators. Either way, if it's a barter deal, if it's a paid collaboration, or if it's another way of working with them, but put aside money and time in your strategy. And set clear goals. If you say that there's no return of investment working with bloggers, then most likely you have worked with the wrong ones, or you have worked with the wrong type of goals. If you want to have more bookings to your hotel, then that should be the goal of the collaboration. If you just want to get your name out there, to get the stories out there, that should be the aim of the collaboration. Travel is not as easy as buying a carton of milk. So you could see a new type of milk and you can go and buy it in the store, and it's a very small process. But if you want to go on a big holiday or on a trip, it takes more time to decide. So sometimes the content that you created 2 years ago is the same content that is making people come now. And that is also why the SEO part is extremely important. Use detailed contracts, as also the Faroe Islands have. What should they deliver? What's the time span? What's the payment, if there's a payment? What type of content and when should it be posted? And who is doing the measuring of everything? And also monitor and engage with the content created if you're working with them. We've had examples of longer collaborations with groups of bloggers being in a destination, and the destination didn't share anything of all the great content that was produced during their trip, because the social media manager was on holiday. And that is not well planned. First of all, you shouldn't have a group of social media specialists there, especially not when nobody can kind of take care of sharing everything. And as you know, stories on Instagram or Facebook, it disappears after 24 hours. So then the content is lost if you don't share it. And also make sure the rules and laws are followed. If you have a collaboration, I'm not 100% sure how every single country is laid out when it comes to laws, but in Norway, and I know also in a lot of other countries, if it is a collaboration, either paid or a barter deal, it should be tagged as it. So there is disclosure demands on everything that is commercial. Because if you collaborate with a content creator on creating images or articles or videos, it is advertising, and it should be marked that is. In Norway, it's the company that get fined if the content creator is not disclosing properly. So that's also like, it's not the content creator that is being fined, it's the company. So that it's also important to have in mind that you have that in the contract, how it should be disclosed. Another way to look at content creators is that you can do content for your own channel. So now I've been talking about content that goes up on the bloggers or influencers channels, but you can also look at them as a resource of creating content for your own channels. So articles, videos, photos, so you can build up, as the Faroe Islands also did, build up a content bank of images that you can use in your social media platforms. But then also it's important to have that in the contract, how the rights to each photo or each video, and where you can post it and where you can use it. And sometimes you can only use it in digital, sometimes you can use it in print, and it has to be kind of disclosed in the contract. That was all for me. I hope you got a little bit inside of the blogger side, the content creator side of the collaboration, and my contact info is there if you want to ask me something or start a collaboration with Nordic bloggers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jannicke. I think it was so great to point out that on one hand, we have travelers who invest a lot of time into doing research before they pay for their trips, because usually a holiday is expensive. At the same time, we're seeing people making much more spontaneous trips and planning on shorter notice. So that just gives us an idea of how important it is that there is good quality content out there when travelers are making that research and making their decisions on where to go. But we're going to go on a short break now for approximately 20 minutes. I hope everyone will be back within that time frame so that our people all over the world won't be waiting too long. There will be some video running for you people online if you'd like to stay tuned or go and grab a drink or answer that email that kept popping in while you were listening to this. Thank you very much for now. I'll see you back in 20 minutes.
Years ago, I started collecting photographs of Iceland. I just really loved them and really wanted to come, but we didn't end up coming until about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the photographs that drew me in. Yeah, the landscape.
So I'm with her. You with her? That's right.
And I also read Laxness. Like one of my favorite books is Independent People. So just interested in the culture and you did this planning.
Yeah, so when we came 5 years ago, we got our Iceland Air tickets, and then booked a couple of tours around, and then this trip, it's my 40th birthday yesterday, and then hers on Saturday, and our 10th wedding anniversary. So we loved it when we were here last, and then so this trip we're just doing on our own. We just love the city.
Yeah. We chose our hotel because it was in a murder mystery book I read by an Icelandic author.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But we didn't, just let's see, visit Iceland.
Yeah.
We went to, and there, a lot of information but just online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have to check my phone. But TripAdvisor also was really good for restaurants.
Yeah.
I think that's what we
the main one.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised that the natives don't wear hats. You can tell that people from here don't wear hats. I think we were surprised, like when we came last time in January, part of the reason was because there were fewer tourists. But even then I thought there was a lot of tourists even last year, but not so much this time.
Yeah, seems less busy now. Even having looked at the landscape and everything, I was still surprised because we come from the Northwest, which is just trees everywhere. So this was interesting. No trees.
Because we know one or two people who've been before and recommended it, raved about what a nice country it were and a nice place to visit with all its natural wonders and places to see. So we thought we'd give it a try ourselves. Well, to be honest, the only planning we did was we went through a travel agent and sort of said where we wanted to go and for how long and the kind of excursions we wanted to do, and we just left it for travel agent and he sorted it all out for us. And we go on first one tonight for Northern Lights. Tracy probably more. I don't tend to do holidays. I tend to leave it to my wife. But as I said, I kind of emailed the travel agents, told him roughly what we wanted to do, going on what people had told us about Iceland, and we left it to him, and he did all itinerary and everything for us. And we've
plus he'd been beforehand, so he recommended.
Yeah, we've literally only arrived here 3 hours ago, so yeah. It's as cold as I thought it was going to be. It's as dark as I thought it was going to be.
Not as expensive as we thought it was.
No, we thought it was going to be more expensive from what we'd been told. And it's just from the last 3 hours, just walking up and down the shopping roads, it's a lot sort of smaller, intimate and quainter than what we thought. It's not like a big capital city we'd be used to that we've been to before.
Yeah, exactly the same what he's just said, yeah. The people seem to be friendly and accommodating, and they all speak English, which is fabulous for us ignorant English people.
My name's Kathy.
My name's Rich.
And we are from Virginia in the United States. We have friends that travel a lot like we do, and they ask us if we'd like to come to Iceland. And we had really never thought about Iceland. It's an interesting place, and my husband's a geologist, so it was the perfect place to come for that.
I think they wanted me to come along just to tell them all the stuff about the rocks they were walking past, so it's been fun. Well, the whole place is full of basalt, but the glaciers and the geysers and all of the volcanic activity has just been fascinating to watch.
We purchased a package through Iceland Air and then chose what we wanted to do. And so we thought it was great to have the air flight here, the hotel, we're at the Hilton Nordica, and then the excursions that went along with it. So it's basically a 5-day package.
most of the planning has largely been getting the right clothes. And luckily we've had some experience back in Wisconsin many decades ago, and some of those clothes still fit and some of them don't now. So we had to go shopping quite a bit and pick up some Arctic gear.
Well, the Iceland country website, and then Iceland.is. We got lots of information, especially about COVID preparations, travel preparations there. And then Iceland Air also gave a lot of info. Facebook, we did join an Iceland group there. That was nice, just to see photos and people's experience.
And did quite a bit of research using Google Maps and Google Earth to scope around what types of places would be interesting in the area, the distances between things, using Google View, Street View to try and see what things were like, and to sort of scope out what we could do over the various times. Having the websites click up on that Google Street View and Google Maps has been extremely handy, so I've been using that a lot.
My biggest surprise was that Reykjavik is a huge, lovely city. I had no idea that there was that much urban life in Iceland. I pictured a very cold island, sort of remote.
Anywhere I go as a geologist, I'm just fascinated by whatever I see, and I just really try not to imagine what it's going to be before I get there. And so everything was brand new, seeing things, the rocks, and the lay of the land, and how big things were compared to, Iceland looks kind of small as an island on a map, and you get here and you realize it's a marvelous, complex, interesting country, not only with rifts and volcanoes and yokulips, but also all kinds of good, interesting local geology and local sites to see. We've been fascinated, and the people have been fabulous, so it's been great.
Hussein, my name is Hussein. I come from Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan. Yeah. So Iceland, I always watch in YouTube. I dream to come to Iceland. I saw many programs about Iceland. It's really a very nice place, like fairy tale here. It was my dream to come to here, to Iceland, explore to Iceland. Plan my trip. How to say? I come with my mother. We travel a lot. I go to many countries, but Iceland, I always like to come to Iceland. How we plan? I don't know how to. Social media, yeah, social media. I on Instagram. I follow many. How to say in English? Influencers, yeah. From Iceland, and watch Eurovision. I like Eurovision songs from Iceland. I will support Iceland, Icelandic song. Yeah, it's easy. Enough information, YouTube channels and YouTube programs. It's my first day here. But city center, it's very nice. It's better than I imagined. Okay. Really nice. Tomorrow I will be. I'm planning to go to Blue Lagoon, and so to this, how to say? Northern Lights. Northern Lights, yes. Yeah.
Years ago, I started collecting photographs of Iceland. I just really loved them and really wanted to come, but we didn't end up coming until about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the photographs that drew me in. Yeah, the landscape.
So I'm with her. You're with her. That's right.
And I also read Laxness. Like one of my favorite books is Independent People. So just interested in the culture and you did most of the planning.
Yeah, so when we came 5 years ago. We got our Iceland Air tickets and then booked a couple of tours around. And then this trip, it's my 40th birthday yesterday, and then hers on Saturday, and our 10th wedding anniversary. So we loved it when we were here last, and then so this trip we're just doing on our own. We just love the city.
Yeah. We chose our hotel because it was in a murder mystery book I read by an Icelandic author.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But we didn't, just visit Iceland.
Yeah.
We went to, and there, a lot of information just online. Yeah, I think I have to check my phone. But TripAdvisor also was really good for restaurants.
Yeah.
I think that's what we
the main one.
Well, I'm surprised that the natives don't wear hats. You can tell that people from here don't wear hats. I think we were surprised, when we came last time in January, part of the reason was because there were fewer tourists. But even then, I thought there was a lot of tourists even last year, but not so much this time.
Yeah, seems less busy now. Even having looked at the landscape and everything, I was still surprised because we come from the Northwest, which is just trees everywhere. So this was interesting. No trees.
Because we know one or two people who've been before and recommended it, raved about what a nice country it were and a nice place to visit with all its natural wonders and places to see. So we thought we'd give it a try ourselves. Well, to be honest, the only planning we did was we went through a travel agent and sort of said where we wanted to go and for how long and the kind of excursions we wanted to do, and we just left it for travel agent and he sorted it all out for us. And we go on first one tonight for Northern Lights. Tracy probably more. I don't tend to do holidays. I tend to leave it to my wife. But as I said, I kind of emailed the travel agents, told him roughly what we wanted to do, going on what people had told us about Iceland, and we left it to him, and he did all itinerary and everything for us. And we've
just he'd been before, and so he recommended.
Yeah, we've literally only arrived here 3 hours ago. So yeah. It's as cold as I thought it was going to be. It's as dark as I thought it was going to be.
Not as expensive as we thought it was.
No, we thought it was going to be more expensive from what we'd been told. And it's just from the last 3 hours, just walking up and down the shopping roads, it's a lot sort of smaller, intimate and quainter than what we thought. It's not like a big capital city we'd be used to that we've been to before.
Yeah, exactly the same what he's just said, yeah. The people seem to be friendly and accommodating, and they all speak English, which is fabulous for us ignorant English people.
My name's Kathy.
My name's Rich.
And we are from Virginia in the United States. We have friends that travel a lot like we do, and they ask us if we'd like to come to Iceland. And we had really never thought about Iceland. It's an interesting place, and my husband's a geologist, so it's the perfect place to come for that.
I think they wanted me to come along just to tell them all the stuff about the rocks they were walking past, so it's been fun. Well, the whole place is full of basalt, but the glaciers and the geysers and all of the volcanic activity has just been fascinating to watch.
We purchased a package through Iceland Air and then chose what we wanted to do. And so we thought it was great to have the air flight here, the hotel, we're at the Hilton Nordica, and then the excursions that went along with it. So it's basically a 5-day package.
Most of the planning has largely been getting the right clothes, and luckily we've had some experience back in Wisconsin many decades ago, and some of those clothes still fit and some of them don't now. So we had to go shopping quite a bit and pick up some Arctic gear.
Well, the Iceland country website, and then Iceland.is. We got lots of information, especially about COVID preparations, travel preparations there. And then Iceland Air also gave a lot of info. Facebook, we did join an Iceland group there. That was nice, just to see photos and people's experience.
And did quite a bit of research using Google Maps and Google Earth to scope around what types of places would be interesting in the area, the distances between things, using Google View, Street View, to try and see what things were like, and to sort of scope out what we could do over the various times. Having the websites click up on that Google Street View and Google Maps has been extremely handy, so we've been using that a lot.
My biggest surprise is that Reykjavik is a huge, lovely city. I had no idea that there was that much urban life in Iceland. I pictured a very cold island, sort of remote.
Anywhere I go as a geologist, I'm just fascinated by whatever I see, and I just really try not to imagine what it's going to be before I get there. And so everything was brand new, seeing things, the rocks and the lay of the land, and how big things were compared to, Iceland looks kind of small as an island on a map, and you get here and you realize it's a marvelous, complex, interesting country, not only with rifts and volcanoes and yokup, but also all kinds of good, interesting local geology and local sites to see. We've been fascinated, and the people have been fabulous, so it's been great.
Hussein, my name is Hussein. I come from Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan. Yeah. So Iceland, I always watch in YouTube. I dream come to Iceland. I saw many programs from, about Iceland. It's really very nice place, like fairy tale here. It was my dream to come to here, to Iceland, explore to Iceland. Plan my trip. How to say? I come with my mother. We travel a lot. I work in many countries, but Iceland, I always like to come to Iceland. How we plan? I don't know how to. Social media, yeah, social media. Yeah. On Instagram, I follow many. How to say in English? Influencers, yeah. From Iceland, and watch Eurovision. I like Eurovision songs from Iceland. I will support Icelandic song. Yeah, it's easy. Enough information, YouTube channels and YouTube programs. It's my first day here. But city center, it's very nice. It's better than I imagined. Okay. Really nice. Tomorrow I will be. I'm planning to go to Blue Lagoon, and so to this, how to say, Northern Lights. Northern Lights, yes. Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome back. So we are getting on with the second half of our conference today. First guest up on stage will be Bárður Örn Gunnarsson. Bárður is CEO of the Lava Center here in Iceland. He's also an independent consultant, and he will talk a bit, amongst other things, about their ways of hiring people with content potential and other things alike. So welcome, Bárður.
So thank you very much. So Lava Center is an interactive exhibition on volcanoes and earthquakes based on the south coast of Iceland next to the Ring Road. So we get a lot of traffic. In a regular year, almost 2 million people pass by. And within 3 years, we managed to bring into the location almost 200,000 guests. So we managed to grow quite rapidly, and everyone was pretty pleased with the kind of how things went. Then something happened, and we suddenly changed from revenue management into cost control, and we started to, like was mentioned here before, we kind of reset everything. How are we going to start again? How are we going to build a sustainable business from the ground with even less money than before, really cost efficient? And marketing was, of course, very high on the agenda. How are we going to bring people back in, and how can we do it with the least possible costs? One of the big answer there was SEO. We figured out that we need to improve our search engine optimization and our strategy with creating content online. I think many of the companies in Iceland were kind of spoiled at that time because there were so many people coming, and if you did a pretty good job, you would kind of get quite a lot of clients. We were also using, of course, OTAs and other ways, but now we figured we need other ways to improve our business without a lot of costs. So we went kind of through this idea, how are we going to do this? Why should we do this? And we were quite strategic with it. I mean, there are, of course, loads of positives with an improved content strategy. We see like increased visits. We can do very specific content on very specific things, and that helps us when we're talking about issues that we really want to raise up. It is very cost efficient, but notice that there's a star there, because it's also very time consuming. So so we figured out like this could be something that we could really work with because we actually have staff and we have people, but we don't have a lot of cash. So maybe this is something that we could really look into. We also believed it's very adaptable. So you suddenly have an eruption in your backyard. You can create a lot of content very quickly, and it attracts attention, especially if you have something that's so relatable as the Lava Center. And of course, a good content often is evergreen, meaning that if you write a good content once or create good videos, they can live for a very long time and create revenue long after it has been posted. But there are, of course, there are also a lot of cons with this methodology. Even though Janneke said it's easy to predict ROI, maybe more with the collaborators we work with, that's true. But often with SEO, it can be quite difficult to kind of calculate exactly the hours that you put into it and the money that comes out of it. It is really time consuming, especially in the kind of way we went, where there's a lot of training involved, there's a lot of man hours involved. So you kind of have to have kind of a flexibility in that sense. But for small and medium-sized tourist companies in Iceland, I think a lot of us have a lot of time, especially during off seasons. So we believe it's a good use of time. It can be quite complicated. I mean, we're fighting with huge companies, often with the same topics, the same words. We see it very clearly when we're buying ads that we have topics like Northern Lights that are so expensive that you really have to have a very efficient business model to make it work. And the same goes with SEO. You have to be quite efficient with your work. And this is not like a one-stop deal. You have to kind of start this as journey, and it never stops. So you have to constantly create this content. You constantly have to have this set in motion. And normally it's not very good for branding, but it can be very bad for branding if you do it badly. So you will have to do some kind of advertising, some kind of video content, something that really amplifies your brand and gives you maybe even better image of the place, a bit like Inga discussed earlier with Italy. But we had pretty good experience with working like this. I remember when I took over late 2017 and they were struggling a lot. we noticed that this organic search was really delivering almost nothing, and we ranked really low everywhere. And then we noticed these small things, like we have an observation deck, which is like 15 meters above the ground. You can see all the major volcanoes around the area. So Hekla and Eyjafjallajökull and the Westman Islands, everything almost within a reach. But we called it viewing platform. And in the text that we wrote, we talked about viewing platform. Even in the ticket, it was called viewing platform. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we looked at Google Trends, we saw that viewing platform is the red line. It's hardly ever looked up. Observation deck, like 15 times bigger. And then, of course, viewpoint, much, much bigger. But we couldn't use viewpoint because viewpoint, of course, is kind of a place on top of a mountain or at a beach. But we could maybe inject that into our content so we could use it in our text. And we changed the wording, we changed the names of our products. And the obvious reason, of course, is that viewing platform is mainly used in UK. And we tend to write in UK English, but like 60% of our customers were American speaking. So there's just a little example where we kind of manipulated a bit the text writing and the content writing. And we asked ourselves, like, is this something that we should really do? Like, because we hear a lot about paid ads kind of being getting more and more dominant, the Google algorithm always being stronger and stronger, and especially relevant with hotels and those that are really, they really need to work very closely with the OTAs. But on travel, like normal travel, it's not the case yet. So only through traffic, 47% of all traffic to a tourist establishment comes from organic search. It was almost like, why didn't we pay more attention to this before? In hotels, like you see the lower link, it's a bit of a different story, especially when we go into the revenue side. So their paid search has kind of surpassed organic, but that's because Google has been kind of forcing them into a revenue model. But on the other side, like we are doing with experiences or destinations, we're still like organic search is like by far the king. Not only that, we also saw just how important it was to establish a good position on the SERPs, on the search engine result pages. So we weren't maybe paying a lot of attention to this. We knew this. We've been told this a million times. But when we really look at the data, I mean, first spot on the search engine has 34% of the click-through ratio. And then, like, this is only first page. The second page, it just goes down and down and down and down, except if it's a brand name and it's ranked badly and you're really looking for it. So it told us, like, being in the top 5 or something is just so important. It's so much more likely to deliver results. And we thought, like, we really, if there's a time to kind of reorganize, refocus, this is the time. So if we look at the SERP results of one of the most searched phrases in Iceland. So we have like 2 or 3 like super difficult topics. One is Northern Lights, one is whale watching, and the third one is ice tours or ice cave tours. Like really competitive, super expensive to buy. So if you Google that and you look just at the top 5 organic searches. So what do you see? Arctic Adventure has top 3. Guide to Iceland has number 4. And that's normally always the case. Almost every single search phrase you go into, Arctic and Guide to Iceland are taking the first 2 or 3 spots. Right after normally Reykjavik Excursions or some of Nordic Visitors or some of these big companies that have big content teams and have been doing this very professionally for the last few years. It's very interesting to look at these sites, like the top ranking site of Arctic Adventure. It's a pretty normal site. Of course, they have a lot of internal link and outbound links. But the core kind of content on the site is almost hidden. It's pushed way to the bottom. It's more than 2,000 words of content on ice caves. How to take photos there, how to dress in them, like where can we find them, what time is best, like very simple text, even too simple for us. But it still delivers this result. So maybe you get a bit kind of frustrated, like there are all these big companies with this big money, big departments that are kind of crushing the field. There's no way I can get to top 5 or first page. But there is hope, and there was hope. So there's a site called I Heart Reykjavik. It's a single person, or it was a single person operation. One blogger, really dedicated, knows a lot about SEO, and she is almost on every single page with the core topics. So I know that Arctic and Guide to Iceland rule words like Folsvöllur and Hella and all kinds of crazy words. But she, like ice caves, northern lights, whale watching, you name it, she's there. It's incredible. So if she can do it alone, we must be able to do it as a team, and we must be able to at least get in the first page, right? So I just want to celebrate her because she's a pretty cool person doing this all alone. Her name is Auður, and during COVID, she decided to stop her travel blog and her travel business. So we lost her out of the business. But at least her legacy lives a bit, and it kind of motivated us to go for this. But when we had this decision kind of based on facts and all of that, we also had to be quite decisive on what are we going to say, how are we going to say this. Because in the past, we had tried a lot of things. I mean, we had bought services from abroad, from these big companies that are selling content. But we're not maybe like Arctic Adventure. They can maybe write silly articles about something which brings in a lot of traffic. But we are called Lava Center. In Icelandic, we're even called the Center for Volcanoes and Earthquake in Iceland. We were built, and the whole structure was kind of, we got a lot of help from the Earth Science department of the university. The author of the storyline is Ari Trausti Guðmundsson, a very known geologist. We're getting free access to amazing data from the Icelandic Met Office. So we are kind of building this on top of those people and that knowledge. So we can't really write rubbish text, or we can't really produce bad content. We can never talk about deadliest super volcano, or we can't even use those words. So it's not only the guests that we have to kind of talk to and deliver content towards. It has to be accepted by other stakeholders or shareholders. And in our case, it's the whole community of geologists and people that have interest in volcanoes. So we have to be very careful with what we say and how we say it. And that's the reason why it was really difficult for us to buy it from somewhere abroad with people that maybe had never been to Iceland. And not only that, we're in a farmland. So we're in the middle of south of Iceland. So people are raised up with rich history, heritage. They're farmers. They know their mountains. They know the waterfalls. They know the names. So we have to treat that also carefully. If not, they start talking negatively about us. And we kind of rely on those people to send traffic to us and be our friends. So we can't really do this badly. So our decision was kind of, we need to speak volcanologists. We need to be geology nerds. We need to speak their language a bit. And we need to be very careful of how we do it. So the solution we came up with is, when we start opening again, let's hire people that have competences, have knowledge, and have interest in helping us being a part of a team that can create value, not only by being hosts or selling tickets, but by really conveying their knowledge and their interest in the topic. So we started advertising not for staff, we started advertising for hosts. We named it that we're looking for people with great interest in geology, nature, environment. And we were a bit skeptic at first that we would find these people. But we had great results. So now we have 2 multilingual geologists. Both are very efficient in writing content. Of course, they need training in how to write SEO text, and we have help with that. But they are starting to produce landing pages, content pages, detailed descriptions about the volcanoes that we're working with. We have an amazing German photographer and an artist. He's even a carpenter as well. So after work, he helps us with carpentry. But he takes a lot of photos for us. So even though we're buying, of course, photos from both content creators and renowned photographers, it's these daily tasks that have been so valuable. We have a Spanish exhibition curator. We have a girl from Gabon who speaks 4 languages. So we suddenly have a team that has a totally different approach to how we could do this. And we think that finally we have a team that we can kind of together build a new content strategy. So the current plan now is that we are coming out of COVID. We have reopened. We are gaining a lot of traffic compared to what we expected. But we're a bit slow on the content side because we just hired those people during summer. We're going into this theme, so we're rebuilding our website. We're rewriting almost every single content piece on their website. On top of that, we reached out again to the people that helped us in the beginning. So Ari Trausti, for example, he is writing a monthly column on Icelandic geology. So yesterday he sent in a piece on Grímsvötn, which has been, we've had a glacier outburst and a possible eruption. So he wrote a piece. And that's kind of what we look at as an anchor piece, something that makes us very credible as a destination. Then our in-house team is writing just simple landing pages, posts about Hekla, just long posts about kind of all kinds of details about Heklas with inbound links and outbound links. We have FAQs that we never had. We even now are building a column that's called Ask a Geologist, so people can ask, because we get a lot of students. They can ask us a question and we will answer online and we'll use it for SEO content. And we're all part of this, so everyone writes some kind of a text. But that being said, it's super important in this structure that we have also had external partners. There's no way 2 geologists and a photographer and us that we could suddenly pop up with amazing content strategy. So we've hired external partners that help us to regulate our work. They help us with the SEO work. They do the keyword planning and all of that. And they are kind of part of the training of our in-house staff. So what I mean with external content teams, first of all, it's just an agency, which we use the most. We use an agency called Verður. They do the keyword analysis. They do a lot of non-geology posts because they have real local journalists working there. So they write content that's not really on geology. So things to do when it rains in the south or 5 waterfalls close to lava center, things like that. And they're also CMS specialists, so they inject the articles themselves into our CMS platform, and they can also review our articles by going through the SEO and change maybe keywords or phrasing or something. And then on top of that, we are really learning to work with influencers, so that's why it's so interesting to hear Olivia talk from the Faroes. We've been kind of reaching out slowly because we get a lot of requests, but we've been trying to find those that are willing kind of to partner with us, that have this interest, that have this knowledge. So people that are in the mountains, that are close to volcanoes, that are doing these things. But we're also trying to use the platform of content creators to maybe find people that we normally don't meet, that we normally don't work with. So people from other countries, speak other languages. So we've been kind of reaching out, for example, a lot to female content creators. Because a lot of the content creators in Iceland, even though they're great, most of them are men. So we want to kind of use this to try to tell maybe not the usual story, but a bit of a different story. So this is our journey now. Please wish us luck. And I'll see you post-COVID again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bárður. Thanks, first of all, for giving us all some hope that we actually can do it. I know that it seems frustrating, as you said, too many to compete with the giants that are out there. But with some very helpful tips and tricks, we can actually do maybe a lot more than we actually thought. Next on stage, we have Kira Dalhus from Denmark. She runs her own SEO agency and has worked with, amongst others, Visit Greenland. She will come and speak more about SEO and hopefully give you some of those tips and tricks that will make it a bit easier to remain hopeful for more than just Bárður's presentation. Welcome, Kira.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me today. It's really a pleasure. My name is Kira Dalhus. I'm from Denmark. I work with SEO and copywriting. I started working with SEO in 2016, where I was working in an agency. And as you just said, today I have my own company called Golden Pine. And today I want to speak about how to create a content universe that favors Google and the customers. So first of all, I will give you a little bit of story about my own company. I have the name Golden Pine, and it is inspired by the nature in Denmark. We have a lot of forest in Denmark, and two-thirds of the forest is actually pine trees. And when you're looking at the pine trees, they are all just looks the same. But if you pay attention to just one pine tree, you will see that they are very unique. And when you have seen the uniqueness in a tree, it can be very hard to unsee it again. And I think the same goes for companies. When I work with companies, I work for getting the unique selling points to stand out. And for building the part that leads the customers to the company, I use the techniques of SEO and my knowledge about customer journey. So 2 years ago, I went to Iceland with my boyfriend. We drove around in the country for 2 weeks, and we had an amazing trip. But beforehand, we made a lot of Google research, which made our trip so amazing. We started Google normal travel stuff, as for example, what to see in Iceland and where to stay in Iceland. But with time, we got more specific when we knew what we wanted to see, and we started Google things as parking rules in Reykjavik because we were driving, but also things like most unique thermal baths in Iceland. And even after we got here, we continue our Google research, and we search for more funny things as why so many sheep in Iceland, or why does the water smell in Iceland, things we as a Dane did not understand. But no matter what we were searching for, we ended up at the same website. And it was actually I Heart Reykjavik, as you just mentioned. It was a great blog with an even greater SEO work behind it. And yeah, we always ended up there. So even though we was not in the bottom of the buying funnel, as you see here, we were more likely to be interesting by Google search for these things I just showed you before. The thing that she did by turning every kind of keywords into a landing page was to help us through the buying funnel without going back and forward to it. She actually turned us into being very great customers at her collaborators, and we chose everywhere we want to eat or sleep and things like that. We chose it because she had mentioned it on her blog. So the outcome or the point of this story is, By building a content universe around keywords that people are actually searching for, you will be more visible on Google, you will gain trust from visitors, and you will sell more to new customers. So when you're going to making a landing page, you have to have an extended keyword analysis beforehand. And I always use 3 steps to do this, and I will show you these 3 steps right now. The first one is to ask yourself, or ask your colleagues, because you know your customers the best. So I will recommend to go away from the computer and just sit down with pen and paper, and then write down every keyword which comes to your mind down on that paper. When you have empty your brain for every kind of keywords you can come in mind of, then I will go back to the internet and back to Google to try to see if there is any data in these keywords that you have just been writing down. So this will be the next step. You have to go to a keyword tool. I, for example, use Keyword Planner, which is for free if you use Google Ads a lot. But there are many tools out there, and you can just choose whatever you want to. The data we want to find out about is how many people are searching for each keyword every month. For example, I can see here that 210 people are searching for Visit Iceland in Denmark every month, so that might be a great keyword if you are going to pursue those travelers that wants to go to Iceland. You can use this keyword tool to prioritize what kinds of keywords you want to work with, because of course they have to be in high relevance for your company, but they are also have to have some, there have to be someone who is searching for them as well. And the last step I want to present today is to go to the site Answer the Public. You have now asked yourself and you have asked Google, so now you're going to ask the public. This is a site where you are putting in your subject and you are choosing the country you are targeting. And when you click on search, you will be provided with a long list of questions that people are actually asking the internet. And these questions is a great thing to respond to because of many things. For example, if you want to make an FAQ, but also because Google can choose to take your response and put it in the search bar or in the search results. So for example here, I have asked Google when is the best time to visit Iceland. And I can see that responsibletravel.com has the answer. So I will be more likely to click on this page among the other competitors. And also responsibletravel.com will be filling more in the search result for this question than the competitors will. So now you have your extended keyword analysis, and you need to work with the keywords on the landing pages. So I will show you now where you have to use your keyword at one landing page. To this example, for this example, I just Googled hiking in Iceland, and the source is Guide to Iceland, who have made a very great site about hiking in Iceland. The first place I see the keyword getting used is when I'm still at Google. It's in the title and in the description. You actually don't need to do this by yourself anymore, because not that long time ago, Google rolled out a new feature where they are taking words from your site and they are making the title and description for you. But I will recommend you to still check how it is working, and I will still make my own title and descriptions for a while until I have seen how great Google actually is by doing this. Google is a bot, and we have to always remember that. Yeah, and for making the double check, you can use a tool called an CTR tool, which stands for click-through rate. This is from storybase.com, actually a Danish company, but it is in English. And there are many tools, CTR tools out there, and most of them is for free. You just plug in your web address and click on fetch, and you can see how the SEO title and meta description is right now. You also get a score, so you can see how great it does, how great it is, and you can be in this tool and try to make it even better. And you also get provided with a list where you can see what you can do better and what you already are doing very great. Another place where you are going to use your keyword is in the URL. Guide to Iceland's URL is fine. I will not say anything about it. It's very great. But we want to keep the URL as simple as possible. So I've just made an example for showing what I will doing when I'm making the URL, because you are able to modify it as you want to, even though you are calling your landing page something else. So in my example, Kira's travel guide, I don't have a travel guide, so don't search for it. I have just been making this landing page called Hiking Trails in Iceland, but this is an under page to another page about Iceland. So I don't need to tell Google in the URL that this is about hiking trails in Iceland again, because they already know. They know when I have this URL that hiking trails is in Iceland, because it's the under page. So I will remove the last part and just make it simple. And of course, you need your keyword in your headlines. Always try to keep it as most to the left as possible, because Google are reading in the same way that we are. So if you can get Google to see the keyword you are working with as the first thing on your site, that will be perfect. And you are, of course, also working with your keyword in your body text. Try to get the keyword in the body text 1.5% to 3% of the full text. In the old SEO days, you could have the keyword to fill in 10% of the text, but today that will be considered as spam. You could also just go to the bottom of your page and multiply your keyword many times, and then just make the font the same color as the background. But if you do that today, of course, this will also be spam. So please don't ever do that, because Google will ban you for being shown at Google. This is actually called Black Hat SEO. And Black Hat SEO is some old, outdated strategies that we really want to avoid now. You have to go for the white hat SEO strategies, and I just put in the source here, crazy.com. They are telling the story about black hat and white hat SEO very well. When you're using images or pictures on your site, you can use your keyword 2 times. First of all, you have the opportunity to make an alternative text. You go to the HTML version of your landing page, and in the code for the picture, you can plug in your keyword in a sentence that you choose. And also the name you give your picture before uploading it to a site will be a part of the code, and Google will read this, so it's an excellent way to use your keyword again. The same goes for videos, but there's also another reason, because when you're using great videos like this one, you can be shown at the search bar videos on Google, and not only ranking for your landing page, but video can rank as well. This is an example of me trying to upload a video on YouTube. I don't have a YouTube either, but this is just an example. And here you are making a title and description exactly as we are doing for our landing page, but your description can be much longer. And here you can use your keyword as well. But you also have a third option, and it is to make tags, where you can modify the keyword you have in many different ways. So, for example, here it's hiking in Iceland, hiking trails in Iceland, but also the brand name, Guide to Iceland. Yeah. And so I made a list where you can see where I think you should use the keyword when you are working on a landing page. It's the meta title, description, URL, headlines, body text, 1.5 to 3%, pictures and videos. And when you have all these landing pages, it will be a great idea to make some internal link building. This is for us to tell Google which site what site will tell you what. Because it can be difficult to write a site without pointing out things you have written about on other pages. So when you're doing that, just make sure you're making a link to the other page. For example, let's say I have just made a landing page about Iceland above another page called Destinations, and now I'm making this page about experiences in Iceland. So the page about Iceland is called a parent page, and the page about experiences is called a child page. It is always a great idea to link between the child page and the parent page. But from the child page, it will also be a great idea to link to every page directly above it in the structure, for example, as this. So there are many elements I think could be great to include at your landing page. You can choose to use all of them, but also you can choose to use some of them. We have already been speaking about pictures, videos, and optimized title and descriptions. But there's also things like table of content. If you have a very long landing page, it can be a great idea to have a table of content where people who are going into a site can just click off what they wanted to know something about and go directly to that section of the site. You can also see if people are going into a site but going out again. You can see it in your data about your bounce rate if they're going out again. And then you might know you have to go through your content once again. Then we have the FAQ. As I just talked about, you can use Answer the Public to make an FAQ. And here you have an opportunity to show the people that you are the main source of the knowledge that they want to know. So you can be the main source for your audience about this knowledge that they wanted to receive. CTAs, call to actions, is always a great idea to include. It's, for example, when I'm making the introducing part of a body text, I can end it up with the writing, click here for my contact information, or click here for buying, or something like that. That will be a CTA where you're telling people to take action. And then there is the selling points, and I have a story about the selling points because I think we all know it's important. And before I went here this time, I wanted to buy a jacket, a warm jacket for my trip to Iceland, but the company told that I could get this jacket in 1 to 2 days. And of course, I do not have the jacket. I have the jacket I'm walking my dog in with me right now. So I will maybe not be buying for this company again. And that's just for saying that if you are writing a selling point, please be aware of living up to that. That is very important, I think. And then references, for example, if you're using Trustpilot, then use a trust box on your site to show that there are people that think that you are doing the right thing. And of course, when you have been making this big landing page content universe, please make sure that people can click around and find more knowledge at your site. So here's what I want you to go home to do. First of all, I want you to make the extended keyword analysis. And I think you should do it in the company, maybe with some help from an SEO specialist, but because you know your customers the best. So please start in-house, and then you can outsource some of the things. Then you have to make a layout template, a template that can be used again and again for the landing pages. It has to work for Google, and it also has to work for, be user-friendly for the visitors. And of course, you need to write the copy. And just do it one landing page at a time, and you can do the internal link building while you are building this content universe, and it will work out fine. That was actually it. And thank you so much for listening. You are welcome to connect with me at LinkedIn. I have a guide I would like to give you for free. It's a guide about how to write copy with an SEO in perspective. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Kira, very much as well. I think we all have homework now to do when we go home. But I also must add that I always think it's quite trustworthy when you hear speakers who do work on a subject and have their own companies say, start in-house first. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, that as she mentioned, we know our customers. As companies, we know our customers best. We know our businesses. We know our websites. We know which stories we want to tell. So let's start there and then add on the expertise if we have to. That was all from the speakers individually. It's now time for our fire pit or our panel discussions. I would like to invite them all on stage. Our moderator especially, since I haven't welcomed her on stage before today, Ásta Kristín Sigurjónsdóttir. She will moderate the panel. We have had some questions come in through the event, through the Facebook site. And I think we're all ready to hear some more insights for the next 30 minutes or so. So welcome everyone on stage, and thank you.
So welcome to this really feminine panel here, Verður. You will have to keep up the good work for your gender there. So, first of all, thank you for really inspiring talks. I asked our technical guys to take up this tent so everyone could enjoy here the beautiful view we have ordered behind us. And I have my friend Philip from Visit Greenland. He has been monitoring questions to you. So what I'm going to do is start to take a few questions from the audience that are online. If you here, our live audience, have any questions, it would be great if you would just raise your hand and we can then take your questions also. But I'm going to open up, this is really technical, of course, here. He is like in Denmark right now. Taking this from the audience online. So the first question, actually, I wanted to start with a question for you all, and we can start with Bardur, because we have we have a content creators here in front of us, and my question to you, and then it might be really interesting also to hear from the content creators themselves, because I'm not sure even, we call them influencers. Is that the same as content creators? Or have we kind of, have we kind of, do we all agree on what content creators are? And I think that when I look at Jón Ragnar, my friend here in the audience, I'm not sure if he would call himself an influencer, though he is, I mean, obviously. But for me, he is an influencer, but his idea is probably that he is a content creator. That's my idea, but, and he not, so he agrees with me. But Bárður, what do you say? Have we kind of juggled this saying or words around, or does it matter?
Yeah, well, on our website we talk about content creators mostly, because we are looking for collaborators on content creation. There are not many kind of celebrities within our field, but of course there are influencers that come to our site that are maybe it's interesting for us to work with, but mostly I think like Jón from Iceland, it's like a typical guy that we would work with because he travels Iceland a lot. He knows the back roads. He can show us pictures that the general public maybe never sees. And in that sense, I'm not really thinking a lot about his audience, really. But there are, of course, there are instances where I give, for example, free access and do things for people that come with like huge followers. But most of the work, at least what we do, is more on the content side rather than the influencer side, I think.
Mm-hmm. And Olivia, you also talked about quality over quantity. Is this in line with that? I mean, when you're choosing and when you're like putting it into this metrics, I mean, what matters most?
Yeah, well, obviously my coworker, Bárður Eklund, who is our digital media manager, he is also a photojournalist. So like primarily when he's been doing the work from the beginning, it's been like the quality of the actual photo. So he will have a look at like, do they have like the photographic, like do they master that skill? And when I mention content creators in my speech, it's probably also because I know that there's a big universe regarding what the content creator influence, which markets they go into. And what we've been focusing on a lot is to build our own channels, to get the content running through our streams. So that sort of makes sense for us to call them content creators. But that being said, like the people our collaborators, if they have a big following, they are influencers. I mean, and then we might have someone with 300 followers contacting us and saying, hi, I'm an influencer, I work with, and maybe they will have some fake numbers sometimes, not always, of course. There's not a shame in saying that you're an influencer.
No.
It's nothing like that, but it's just something, I think, when you create strong content and when you have a group of following who relate to your content, and I think like I Heart Reykjavik sounds to be, like we even have proof in this panel that she has definitely been an influencer because she has influenced people to go to places, but it's probably a little bit hard to just call yourself that unless you are it.
Mm-hmm. And also, I'm wondering, because we didn't go into any depth in talking about the different kind of social media, like TikTok doesn't even need you to have a lot of followers to get your content really fast ongoing if the algorithm is like that. So we are also learning a lot through new channels, of course. So that can be something to talk about in another perspective, in another way. But Jannica, maybe to connect you to this also, because you were talking about also like the content creator, but I was wondering, like, how independent can they be? Like, I mean, they have their own opinion, they have their own values, they maybe there can be some kind of a conflict even if something, you know, some questions will be raised, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, but if there is a conflict between the influencers or content creators' values and the company, they should basically not work together. That's like, no. Yeah. So finding the right content creators to work with is especially important, and especially if you have some more sensible topics, or if you're really focusing on responsible, sustainable tourism, then you should really pick who you work with very carefully.
Mm-hmm. You also have here a question from the online audience regarding the ambassadors. Are ambassadors usually local content creators? This comes from Lasse from Greenland.
They can be, but they can also be from far away. It depends on how you kind of tailor the agreement. We've had some, like we haven't called it directly ambassadorship, but with the Nordic TBs we have some destinations that we have been working with for 7-8 years. And we're sending sometimes different bloggers, but sometimes also the same ones that has been there before, because they want to extend the content universe that they have on their blogs and social media channels, so that they get more authority in that specific topic. Mm-hmm. So it's also a way of building authority for the content creators, and also a way to kind of expand the universe that they present within this destination. Mm-hmm. But whether you call it an ambassadorship or not, usually ambassadorship is very common in brand, like brand buildings. It's not that common in destination, but like outdoors clothing and more equipment and those kind of things can be nice to kind of connect with a travel blogger or a content creator that has the same values and experience things that this brand wants to be connected with. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more about how you lay out and not everything, like not every collaboration with a travel blogger needs to include travel. It may sound very strange, but during COVID now we've also had collaborations with like digital-only campaigns. So we've used photos and content and experience from previous trips and previous visits to create new content with a different theme or a different focus. And it also helps each of the bloggers involved to expand the universe of this destination or this team on their blog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. And also, like, to connect to your talk, maybe your talk was a little bit more, for some it might have been in a more depth, you know. Yeah. It's complicated for many people. I mean, when you start to talk about, you need to know this, but you don't really have to do this yourself. But nevertheless, you need to find your keywords yourself. How would you explain for a business owner? I mean, maybe many are watching that are like into this field and know really much about the technical side and everything about it. But how could you explain for a business owner what he really needs to know and what he can find services for in other places?
Yeah, I think as a business owner you have, as I said, to start in the company with the keywords. And I think in a company, you know what your customers want to be searching for. but you can always get one who knows about SEO to be an extended connection to the company to help you, because they have access to the tools, for example. But I think the best way to start is to start with the keywords and then building up the landing pages. Actually, I think that you are doing a great job at Leva in the way you are connecting using people who are working with SEO and stuff like that, but also using the internal knowledge in the company. Yeah.
And also to keep that ball rolling, because content creators, I mean, could we, to try to save time and money and try to use the content in more broader way maybe, do you think we could cooperate more, Verður? For example, in Iceland, on content. I mean, you need special knowledge to make this, of course, as relevant and trustworthy as you can. But do you think that we could work more together on content building, like to connect to sustainability, to connect to the nature and everything that we want to? And this could go, of course, for all the Nordics. But what is your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think the point that you came up with, that you can't hire a content creator for one restaurant, makes a lot of sense for me. First of all, I would love to work with companies in my area to create a lot of content, and we could share. I mean, they would, of course, do different content for different operations, but there's also a lot of content that we could kind of work with. Photos, like very detailed topics, like we're struggling a lot with, like with just geology. I'm sure that other people could use it. I wouldn't really care if we would just have access to it. And that's one of the things I've been really happy with, the way Visit Iceland has been moving a bit now. They're creating better access to destination, to companies. They're creating access to data and information that we can kind of pull up and use. And I would love to see more of that. But I think we could also even go even further. And I need a lot of help from the local communities. Like I can't hire a copywriter in south of Iceland. It's almost impossible. I can't hire even almost not a photographer in the area that kind of can help me. And I think if we could do like a collaborative work on it, maybe we could create a working environment for these people that we could really kind of, I mean, it's great to get the best content creators in, but they're very busy, they're quite expensive, and I'm sure that we could really benefit of kind of building a base for more people, doing it more locally.
Could we maybe mix it a little bit? Because I think that the word we are lacking a little bit, and we talked a little bit about this in the break earlier. We have kind of stopped talking about words that we know and are familiar with, like storytelling. I mean, content building is about storytelling, and we the Nordics, we are rich of stories, and we really know how to communicate them. I mean, maybe the storyteller is not the best photographer or not the best blogger, and so on and so forth. But if we can collect the stories, we can develop the content and so on. What do you feel about this, Olivia?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that when I was preparing for this, I didn't include storytellers in my, the way I was trying to describe what we mean by content creators. But it's obviously a very, very important skill to master. And if I could add on to what Barry says with the local community, like right now, if you go to our Instagram page, Visit Faroe Islands, you will see that we have local content creators who are telling their story of a Faroese Christmas. And I think that, of course, we can hire in content creators from all over the world, and they will be brilliant at creating also stories about our community and they have a different view of seeing it. But when it comes to storytelling, we are actually the ones that are really good at telling it, because we've been like describing ourselves, or at least we can tell the stories from our point of view. So we will have like right now some recipes to do like vanilla crans. I don't know what's it called in English, but yeah, but so that's a way to sort of continue the story from a local point of view, and I think it's always interesting to discuss like what do we call things, but as a concept, storytelling is of course that's why we sort of travel. That's the things we relate to, and not like Inga mentioned in the beginning. Maybe not so much like the facts. We want the feelings, and
yeah. Sometimes we get lost in finding fancy words around something that we
I don't
really
know.
understand. But I mean, content creator is a really great word, though. Jannica, there's a direct question here for you, and this is also a question I had in mind, and also for all of you to kind of jump into. This comes from Sonja from Finland, and I really love how all the countries are gathering around this event here. But she has the question, do you have any examples of how to make sure that the content created supports sustainable tourism practices?
You have to vet everyone that you work with. So go through their content, go through everything that they've posted, maybe not everything if they have thousands and thousands of articles, but take a good look at the content that they post. Like, is this representing your values and what you want out of a collaboration? Mm-hmm. So it's basically just you need to check, and you also need to just have a conversation. Like, these are our values, this is what we want with our company, and this is what we want with this collaboration. Mm-hmm. And then they need to kind of like, okay, or, well, this is nothing for me. So I think it's like a mutual understanding that needs to be set beforehand.
And also, like in connection with this, there's a question about like how, if you have any kind of like drone rules in your area, and then you have a lot of promotion that is like drone pictures. I mean, this has to go hand in hand, I would assume. But would you like to chip into this like sustainability issues here? Kira, do you have any?
Oh, sorry. I don't know how to say it from an SEO perspective.
No, but what I took out from you, you were like looking for ways, or you were looking for travel in Iceland in wintertime, for example. I mean, can we trust that like the page that you saw responsible, can we trust that the information that come up, that have been put in there, is like relevant and right, and how can we kind of see that this is the right information?
Yeah, but the reason why we gained so much trust to this exact website was because it was, no matter what we were searching for, we were ended up at her site, at I had Reykjavik. And she was great to explain everything very deeply from a personal perspective and not from a commercial perspective. And that was some things that made us gain some trust. Mm-hmm. And she also has big collaborators who have big policy about sustainability and things like that. Okay. So yeah, I think you can find trust in personal content creators.
Yeah, but like for me, I would like everyone to just jump into Safe Travel or into some page that I know that everyone can trust. What do they need to do to be like, so I would go into their page first. Do they need to then step up their game in SEO or what?
I think so, because SEO is the way where you are going to get the organic ranking. Mm-hmm. And organic ranking is something you get from Google, and not because you are paying for it. So I think it's a big approval of trust to have great rankings organically. Yeah.
Can I just jump in with something about that? Because in one of the slides that I had, I didn't quite explain. There were 3 images, and I took the example of the painting that bloggers didn't know anything about. But one of the images there was a huge campaign a couple of years back with, I think it started with 20 of the YouTubers and Instagrammers that had like huge following. And there was a campaign that was initiated by one of the creators, but it was Save the Trees. So it was focused on saving the trees in the world. And the photo that I showed, it will probably be sent out after the presentations. Inga? Yep. Yes. But it shows one of the key figures in this campaign, and it's Fun for Louis. He was, I'm not sure if he's still doing YouTube videos, but he was traveling the world with his crew, and so he was standing in front of the world's oldest tree. And he was standing like right next to the tree, and the photo was of him. What you didn't see in that photo is that what was left out in the front was do not cross. So it's actually not allowed to go to the tree. It has a fence, but it's very effectively just like put out. And this is a campaign to save the trees, and he's kind of trespassing the one and only. And sometimes you have creators that, okay, the rules are this, but they don't apply to me. And especially the big influencers has somewhat. And I saw like one of the examples also with the COVID parties. Like, yes, it applies to everybody else, but not to me. So that's also something that you need to be aware of, if you especially if you're working with sustainable, responsible travel, to be very sure that they have the same values and they have the same, and it's for real.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just for show.
Yeah. It's a little bit like greenwashing.
Can I add a bit to this as well? Because I find this is really interesting. I think like safetravel.is has no way in hell to fight against Guide to Iceland, Arctic Adventure, or these great content creators. They cannot do it. I think it's really, really difficult for them. I believe that they should create content for those that deliver the good stuff. So that the content creators are willing to link to it. So they are giving them value for their content. And I think that's the way to do it. I think it's impossible to have sites that are fighting with the people that are actually doing this professionally.
Jonas is listening, so you're talking directly to
but I like just a simple thing for Lava, for example. We struggle a lot with weather in winter in Iceland. And they're always trying to force people to go into weather.is or into safetravel.is, but no one goes there. I don't remember when I've been abroad that I went to kind of the local nature hazard site. I've never done that. The people that are coming to us are using their iPhone weather apps, which are very inaccurate often. But what they do is that before they go out, they check, are we open? What should we see on the way? All this information. And there we should have the information on the weather, links to it or widgets or whatever, because that's where the people will go. So they will check on the parking in National Park at Þingvellir. They will not check the weather at weather.is before going there. But if the parking site has a link to update weather or weather warnings, that will help. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good choice. No, good point. Also to connect this all together, because I mean, individually we will go nowhere, but when we try to or when we develop this cooperation, then it starts to get viral in that perspective. But Olivia, and our time is almost up, but you had few really big words that I connect a lot to. You talked about regenerative tourism, and you talked about using tourism as a good force And in that connection with, and of course, responsibility and sustainability, but how can you connect that also to this using of content builders and I mean, how important are these? These are not only big words, I know that, because you are acting on them also, but...
Well, we are trying our best to act on them, and of course we've done, like, for example, the Close for Maintenance campaign, which is both a developmental tourism campaign, but it's also something that we can do marketing on, so that's sort of a way to connect those dots. I think that one of the issues, and one thing that's probably not making it easier for anyone to find the right sustainability or even regenerative collaborators, or those who support that vision, is that everybody is saying that they are it. Mm-hmm. So you might get a request, we are all about sustainable travel, we're all about, we consider, and we might have a discussion, and like at the end of the day, they might end up delivering like what we didn't agree upon. Mm-hmm. I think it's really, really tricky, and I think you're gonna have to do some mistakes along the way, but yeah, I think what Janne mentioned is just to sort of try to validate as well as you can in advance, and then you will just have to have some trust and try and fail a little bit along the way.
Mm-hmm. I haven't done a search in any of the tools, but I'm not sure how many, like how strong the search for sustainable travel in Faroe Islands or sustainable travel is. So I'm not sure how many searches for it. So that's also maybe some of the reason.
Yeah.
So Kira, just in the end, because we have so many, and like in the Nordics, 80 to 90% of all businesses are like small and medium.
Yeah.
And maybe there's not a lot of finance or a lot of budget for really heavy technical issues. But what would you recommend them to start with? Because everyone needs to jump into this area and issue. What would be your key message to them?
I would say take time out of the day or out of the week for everyone to participate in creating content for the company. It could be as in an article or making a video or social media or something like that, but everyone should be on board, I think so. You could make a podcast and just make it one podcast per month or something, just do something. And of course, because I'm working with SEO, I think that the copywriting is very important. Mm-hmm. And if you can make landing pages for every keyword that is related to your company, that will of course be amazing. So just do it over time.
Start small and try to build up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Annika, what would be your key takeaway?
No, I was just thinking about what she said also, because if you want to be visible with your own content on your own platform or your own webpage as a company, there are so many companies, even big hotel chains, that are, yes, we need to have a blog. Mm-hmm. So they start a blog and they post 3 or 4 posts, and then you go into it, and the last post was updated in 2019, and it kind of like falls out. So either way, So either way you do it, like if you decide to go, like we are going to work on a website, we're going to work on our social media, and we're going to create content, then look at it as this is a long-term business strategy. It's not a project that you can finalize, like be finished in 3 months, and then it's like, yes, we've done that, and now we can move on. This is like social media. It's built for long-term. It's like you can't do, in lack of the English words, we say skippertak in Norwegian. It's not something you can just do. Yeah, we're going to post 20 posts this week, and then the next posts are coming. Yes, and then the next posts are coming in March. Yeah. So you need to be constant present. And if you decide to start a blog, you can think that you don't have to create all the content there by yourself. You can hire or collaborate with content creators to create really interesting stuff that is also SEO optimized and that can drive traffic to your site and give business.
It's kind of starting with the end in mind, kind of, philosophy. Olivia.
Well, I think there's just been a lot of really, really good things inspiring from today, and I think it was interesting to hear how you have been working with, like, especially geologists to create content, because I think it's some people just know more about a certain area. So if you can use them, we also have some interesting geology in the Faroe Islands. We have some geologists. Maybe we could get them to do something. And of course, also, just hearing about the SEO. That's always something that I'm not personally working with, but I know that I have some coworkers at home. And of course, very much interesting to hear like the difference, like the side from the content creator when we have it from our side. So I think it was all in all.
Beautiful. Order.
We are on that path now, kind of. We have most of our staff that have never written SEO text before, but I think it's just becoming easier and easier. I mean, we have Udemy courses, we have things like this today. I think the bar is not as high as we think. So I think we should just, like you said, we should really, as a team, sit down, write the keywords, think about the questions that we're asked at the front line, and kind of start from there. And there's so much information, so easily accessible, and it's a bit of like an artisan-y trade. You just have to start molding and start working on it. And I don't think it is a very steep hill to climb. It's just this decision to go for it for the long run and stick to it.
And not everything needs to be SEO on your webpage. You can put up a perfectly nice story about anything and then use internal linking to drive traffic to it. So it doesn't have to be visible on Google. You don't have to be on page 1 with everything, but use internal linking. So.
And I'm sure that people that were watching today, people that were with us here today are inspired and probably with a lot of questions. So the people that are here can grab you and maybe ask you more questions in details. And also your contact information will be given to the people that were registered here today. But we need to close this now. Panels always fly and the time flies. So you will take the stage again, Inga.
Thank you again to all the panelists and to you, Asta, for moderating and connecting the dots. I hope you are more inspired to go and continue on working on your own content or working with content creators, have figured a bit more out how that all plays into your SEO strategies. I know that I am inspired. I feel like we could do this. We could have a meeting like this every month. We could practically have it every week. There is still so much that has not been touched upon that could easily have been talked about today. But this is a start. I'm really grateful for everyone who's been watching, really grateful for everyone who showed up today. We appreciate it a lot. On behalf of the DT Nordics, Digital Tourism in the Nordics team, I thank you from all our participating countries, Iceland, Faroe Islands, visit Greenland, visit Finland. And please visit the website dtnordics.com. It has a lot of valuable information regarding digitalization in tourism, especially geared towards small and medium-sized tourism companies in the Nordics. Of course, it's open and available to everyone, but that's where our focus lies these days. So have a wonderful day, and thank you very much.